What is up, ladies and gentlemen of the online Jamily? JamiroFan 2000 here with another episode of JamiroFan Talks About. For the uninitiated in this series, this has been my recurring discussion series here on my channel, taking a conversational look at the past, present, and future of Jamiroquai and their now over 31 years of influential and music making. Now, this episode of JamiroFan Talks About is going to be a little bit out of the vein of Jamiroquai, a little bit related to Jamiroquai, but it's going to be dealing with an exciting new album and single that is coming out from what used to be one of the record label mates with Jamiroquai back in 1992 when they signed to Acid Jazz Records. Of course, I'm talking about the band Galliano. Any hardcore members of the Jamily, Galliano was one of the standout artists to be on the Acid Jazz Records label, where Jamiroquai originally signed before they ended up jumping over to Sony Music on an 8-album deal back in 1993. But Galliano, for any members of the Jamily who are not familiar with that band, Galliano were a London-based acid jazz group that were originally active between 1988 and 1997. The group was the first signing to Eddie Pillar and Giles Peterson's acid jazz record label, as I pre-mentioned. The original band members were Rob Gallagher on vocals, also credited as Roberto Galliano, Constantine Weir on vocals, Michael Snaith on the vibe controller, and Crispin Robinson on percussion. Now, other important members of Galliano, of course, were Valiant Antion, who many members of the Jamily know was a backup singer for Jamiroquai for a good amount of their albums. Well, she's participated in a recording of all of the Galliano albums, along with other musicians like Mick Talbot on keyboards, Crispin Taylor on drums, Ernie McCone on bass guitar, Mark Vandergooch on guitar, and Steve Amd, who was otherwise known as Big Uncle Big Man, who was a dancer in the group. Ski Oakenfold replaced Mike Talbot on keyboards in 1994 in Galliano. The band split in November of 1997 over creative differences over the direction of travel, with Crispin Taylor starting a Cliff Richard cover band. Now, the first single from, of course, Galliano was a reworking of the Curtis Mayfield Freddy's Dead track, Freddy's Dead, called Frederick Lies Still, which was released in June of 1988. It was also the first release on the Acid Jazz label for Galliano. Their second release was Let the Good Times Roll by the Quiet Boys in 1989. The Quiet Boys was the alias used by acid jazz pioneer Chris Banks, who went on to produce the group Galliano. Now, Galliano's first album release was In the Pursuit of the 13th Note in 1991, literally a year before Jamiroquai would even sign with Acid Jazz Records, which was produced by Banks. Their second album, A Joyful Noise to the Creator, was released in 1992. Galliano achieved a peak of its success in 1994 with The Plot Thickens, which peaked at number 8 in the UK album sales charts. 2 UK top 40 singles were released from that album, including A Long Time Gone, a cover of the David Crosby song from the self-titled first album from Crosby, Stills and Nash, and Twyford Down. The latter was a comment on the road building protests taking place at the time, and at the protests at Twyford Down in particular, which they had joined on stage with anti-Rose protesters to make appeals to the audience. The album was very well received and was even making the Enemy's list of the top 50 albums of that year. Following its release, Galliano performed at the Pyramid Stage at the Glastonbury Festival in 1994 and returned to play the Enemy's stage in 1995. Now, Galliano's fourth and final studio album was released in 1996. This included track Slack Hands, which was also used in the title sequence of the Kevin Reynolds 1997 film 187, starring Samuel L. Jackson. Unfortunately, Galliano would end up breaking up in 1997. Gallagher, together with Valerie Antion, formed a group called the Two Banks of Four. Gallagher also performed solo using the names Earl Zinger, William Anderson, and together with Alex Patchwork as the Diabolical Liberties. And now we come to the central part of this episode of JamiroFan Talks About. I hope everyone in the Jamily appreciated that little bit of an abridged background on the Galliano. But in spring of 2023, Galliano happily announced on their social media that they were going to do a return. They were going to be producing a brand new album, their first album in nearly 25 years removed from their last album release in 1997, unfortunately during around the time of their breakup. But it included a release of a new single with a new album coming out later that year, but that single would be called Circles Going Around the Sun. And it is an absolutely awesome single. It's great to see Galliano back, and I look forward to hearing their brand new album, and I will be reviewing it in a potential video later this year when it comes out. I kind of digress a little bit, but so far Galliano has announced a few live gigs in the summer of 2024. The band played twice on Giles Peterson's We Out here festival in August of 2023, playing covers of Harvest of the World and Uptown, top ranking alongside their original material. But I thought it was very justified to record a new episode of JamiroFan Talks About to talk about this exciting new single from Galliano and a potentially great new album. But if you have not got a chance to check out that brand new single from Galliano, their first single in nearly 25 years, called Circles Going Around the Sun, which is a amazing conversational retrospective on Gallagher basically doing a bit of a Gil Scott-Heron approach with the single, with a very, very funky arrangement by the band, with him basically talking about the history of New York and all these influential musical artists that influenced Galliano. But like I said, that single is currently available on all major streaming platforms, so if you'd like to check out that single from Galliano, 25 years removed from their last release, I'll be sure to put a link to that stream link to that new single from Galliano down in the description area of this episode of JamiroFan Talks About down below, so be sure to check that out in your own time. And of course, any more major news comes along about Galliano, I will be covering it soon in more videos here on the JamiroFan 2000 YouTube channel. But as always, this is JamiroFan 2000. Thank you again for watching. If you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to ding the bell on your YouTube to stay up to date on all the latest videos coming from the JamiroFan 2000 YouTube channel as we march into summer of 2024. I will fully endeavor to bring you all the latest news as it becomes available. But as always, this is JamiroFan 2000. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you really soon with more music enthusiast related videos here on the JamiroFan 2000 YouTube channel. Bye bye, everybody, and take care.